guys, I'm delighted to be here chatting with Darryl Edwards today. Hi Darryl.
Hi Susie.
So just to give you a little bit about background about Darryl, he's actually a movement coach, a natural lifestyle educator, a nutritionist, and the creator of the Primal Play Method. So Darryl, please explain to us, what is Primal Play?
So yeah, I suppose it's probably worthwhile giving a little bit of context around why Primal Play came about. So my former career was working within investment banking as a technologist, and I was working 16 to 18 hours a day, every single day. I pretty much it was a very lucrative lifestyle. You know, it was a fantastic, the work was incredible. I was one of very few individuals around the world who could do the type of work that I was doing. So I was well paid, as you can imagine, for doing that type of work. And I had the benefit of having an annual health check, 3 to 4 hours spent having all sorts of assessments being done, lots of blood work being done. And one year I was basically told, Mr. Edwards, we have a problem. You are pre-diabetic. You have really poor lipid profile. So we're really concerned about your cholesterol markers and your and you know, everything to do with your cholesterol isn't looking good whatsoever. You're also anemic. You also have chronic hypertension, and a whole other host of issues that came up in these tests. And I said, okay, well, what can we do about this, doc? And it was, we'll take some beta blockers for your blood pressure, some statins for your cholesterol problems, you know, some supplementation for your anemia. You're already on chronic, you know, taking pain relief for your low back pain, which I was suffering from. So I was taking diazepam and pethidine and a cocktail of meds. And so I was really concerned about taking any more meds, and also how long should I be taking these for? And I was told pretty much until the end of your days. There's not much you can do about this. You're getting older now, it's genetics. There are people in your family with similar ailments. This is just your time. And I remember reading a few weeks prior to my assessment, actually, about the relationship between being sedentary and hypertension, high blood pressure. So the first thing I decided to do before taking the meds was to start exercising, to start becoming more physically active. And within about 4 or 5 weeks, my blood pressure came down to around about 125/80. It was previously around 145/125. I mean, it was ridiculously high, and of a concern, warranting me getting medication. But my blood pressure came down just by me becoming more active. And some of my other markers had improved as well. I remember my doctor saying to me, well, look, it's only been about 4 or 5 weeks. I wouldn't put too much faith in this, you know, because numbers can change all of the time. So we'll keep tracking you, and, you know, keep doing what you're doing, because it's obviously some benefit there, but we're not sure how much of a benefit. And after about 2 or 3 months of me still continuing to become more active and starting to think about what I could do to improve my diet, like a lot of the numbers were like normalized or optimized within that 2 to 3 month period. And I was like starting to inquire about what I could be doing to improve my nutrition and looking at other aspects of a healthy lifestyle. So movement for me was the gateway to recognizing that could actually be beneficial for me, could be medicinal for me. And so movement became my medicine. And so I decided to learn as much as I could about that. And I wanted to create a gym for the elites. So I came from this environment of, you know, work hard, play hard, meritocracy. And I wanted to create a gym environment for those who wanted to do exactly the same. Ultra competitive individuals, highly stressed out at work, but I wanted to be highly stressed in the gym. But recognize that I didn't actually love being in that environment. I started to hate the gym. I started to hate the exercises that I was doing. I started to realize that I wasn't actually getting much stress reduction by being physically active, because I wanted to maintain that environment in my gym. my gym life. So Primal Play came about by me getting bored with conventional fitness, me getting bored with the messaging around fitness being no pain, no gain. You know, you've got to work really hard to get the benefit. You've got to punish yourself for what you ate the night before. You've got to look a certain way. You know, it's about getting into shape. It's about becoming physically fit. It's about trying to look like the cover of a magazine. And so yes, that's how Primal Play came about. It was recognizing that movement is for all, not just for this next few. And secondly, using play and play theory as a way of ensuring that we can get our movement prescription in a way that's more appetizing than the one that we're often being sold, which is just work really, really hard, punish yourself, use punitive measures to receive the benefits of movement. And I prefer instant gratification. So I prefer, how good am I going to feel as soon as I participate in movement? And play is a great way of enabling that. When we were kids and we were moving often and we were playing outside, we didn't discuss exercise and sets and reps. And how long are we going to be doing this for to optimize our fitness and performance capability? It was like, let's just play, right? We're bored, let's amuse ourselves. Our parents would tell us to get outside and don't come back until it was time for dinner. That's what I was told as a youngster. And we weren't bogged down with inspirational imagery. It was like, let's just have some fun. And so I wanted to recreate some of that nostalgia as an adult and enable us to recapture the joy of movement that we all experienced as children.
Brilliant. I love what you said about being very disenchanted with the gym, because I've really never even barely been in a gym in my whole life. And I have to say that whole no pain, no gain does nothing for me. That whole ethos. I mean, I hear the word boot camp and, you know, I feel ill to the pit of my stomach. So I'm completely in tune with what you're saying. I remember being at school and I was never the sporty one. I was never even considered for any team. I was quite good at table tennis. That was about it. And I found that as an adult, you know, you don't belong in a gym, and I don't want to go spending my life running up and down. I don't run. I don't like running. I don't go around in lycra. So you kind of don't know where you fit in, you know, if you're someone like me. But yeah, we all loved play as children, but somehow we kind of, once we grow up, the play thing just is left by the wayside, and no one really mentions play. It's just designated to, and not even children, but little children, you know, once they get to kind of 11, you know, where you're just on your phone at playtime, and it's really sad the way play has been, I don't know, it's just gone further and further down our agenda. So tell us a little bit about why we as human beings benefit from this concept of play.
Yeah, so I mean, again, I suppose the starting point should be the benefits that come from physical activity in general. So not being sedentary and being physically active underpins our physiology greatly. There are a significant amount of health benefits that can only come about by being physically active. And so, but at the same time, our evolution tells us that it's important for us to conserve energy. It's important for us not to just move recreationally when you have no idea where your next meal is coming from. So in the 21st century, having, you know, an ancestral body in the 21st century, we're now bombarded with food availability and, you know, hyperpalatable foods, which doesn't need any energy expenditure to obtain. You know, I can click a button, have food delivered to me. So there's a disconnect between what we would have had to have done previously to obtain food, hunting and gathering food, farming foods, to now a click of a button. And so when you tell people that you should exercise, a part of us is saying, what, it's alien to me. You know, I just want to sit on my sofa and do nothing. And And I can understand that's almost our DNA. It's human nature to want to do that. So play is something that we would have done when we got all the serious stuff out of the way, right? You've got your food, you've built your shelter, you feel safe and secure. You've had your hearty meal. Now we have some free time. Let's enjoy ourselves, whether it's dancing, whether it's playing, whether it's teaching kids how to become better adults through movement and through play, whether it's a way of education and teaching method. And for us as children, for myself as children, it was just our childhood was basically about play. That was the primary focus. If we could have done nothing else but play all day until we had to sleep, and even then we probably would have not wanted to sleep if we could continue to play. That was our preoccupation, right? And any other mammal on the planet still continues to play in adulthood. The big cats will still play. They may not be as vigorous as their younger offspring, but they still continue to play. It still enables them to be full of life and vitality. And humans decide there's a cutoff point. There's a point where you've got to become more serious. There's a point where you have to push play to one side because play is childish. And there is no place for play, in adulthood. But we couldn't be more wrong about this, because if you think about it, play has become going out drinking, playing cards, partying. We've created these adult variants, and we use play as the kind of adjective, let's be playful, let's go out and play. But there's not much that's playful about those pursuits. We've got to create them artificially. We've got to drink so we can actually have a great time with our friends and family. We've got to take recreational drugs because we want to escape reality. We create all these mechanisms to try to play rather than just reverting back to our humanity and saying, actually, we can be playful. We can adopt a playful approach to life. We can have more fun right now in the moment without having to be thinking about how can we actually get there. So there's an intrinsic value from play that kids totally get immediately. They can make a decision, I won't continue with this pastime because it just isn't enjoyable. They're not just thinking about the end result, the goal. They'll just say, it's not fun now, right? I couldn't care less if I will achieve an objective in 6 months, in 28 days. They're like, is it good? Does it feel good now? And we need to learn a lot from that. Yes, we do. And to kind of finish that point, there are two individuals that I think you probably should be paying more attention to than me. So one is Albert Einstein. So Albert Einstein quoted that play is the highest form of research.
Yeah.
So we often believe that work is a superset of play. Play is relegated to of less importance because the real work happens when you work, right? The real output and productivity comes when you work. But actually, Einstein himself said play was actually more beneficial than work because it enables you to be creative. It enables you to think outside the box. It enables you to remove barriers and limitations. So you can actually produce far more when you're playful than you are when you're just in structured work mode. And most of the most successful organizations, especially in the tech industry now, like the Googles and the Facebooks and the like, they have dedicated play areas. They ensure that during your working day, you make time for play because they recognize that their teams are far more productive and produce more work when they have a playful environment. So that's the kind of Albert Einstein approach. And secondly, there's a psychologist researcher called Stuart Brown who wrote a fantastic book on play and how it kind of shapes the brain and how we've developed, how we've evolved with play. And children who are play deprived are more likely to be violent as adults. And there's an association between children who are play deprived and violent acts and serial killers and the like, as well as, lots of mental disorders are linked to play, being play deprived. So there is research in this area suggesting that there are significant health benefits, mental and physical benefits, from being more playful and maintaining that for as long as possible. So he's somebody who would mandate that play isn't just for childhood; it's actually for life.
Wow, I love that idea, and yet it's so not part of our general mindset these days, where we wake up and it's just go 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 go, from one thing to the next on our things to do list until we go to bed, and even then we're trying to get some last few emails done, and it just seems like people don't even have time to sit and eat properly, never mind play. I mean, that is not even on their radar. And yet what you're saying is that this is actually a human need. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, exactly. There's a biological need. So epigenetically, here's another bit of research. So this is actually animal research done in rats, but there's similar work being done in humans. Basically, after 30 minutes of play, looking at 1,200 genes, a third of them are modified, epigenetically changed after 30 minutes of play. The brain is up through playful movement.
Gosh.
Okay, so there's a significant epigenetic response, and this is over and above the physical activity, which we know also has a similar impact to the body and the brain. So play alone, performing a task which involves play, which is free form, unstructured, where there's intrinsic value, where there's the motivation is intrinsic, i.e. just taking part is good enough. It's not about what I may be able to achieve at the end of this. Enjoying the process, I suppose, is more commonly termed as enjoying the process, enjoying the moment, being mindful. So again, when I used to think about becoming more mindful, I would be thinking about, darkened room, listening to Enya. Do you know what I mean?
Enya, did you say?
Yeah, Enya, yeah. So, that, and, kind of, I've got to meditate, I've got to have this moment of bliss, like complete silence. Then I'll be, now I'm mindful. Now I'm in the moment, finally. Whereas actually, if you're a kid being chased, for example, playing tag, that's very mindful right there for them. All they're thinking about is, I don't want to be tagged, or I need to tag someone. That's it. The whole world disappears and they're completely in the moment, and all they're thinking about is that activity in that moment right now. That's all that matters. And so they know what it's like to be mindful. They don't have to be taught an approach or a prescription and how to get there. And I've learned that too, that mindfulness is not a process. It's something that we can obtain right away as soon as we realize what the only thing that's important is now, not what happened before, because that led us to where we are today, and we have no control over what happens tomorrow. And so as kids have that amazing awareness of how beautiful the world is, they kind of have this, like, almost every single day they can wake up and go, oh wow, it's a new day. I'm going to explore the world. I'm going to experience something new. And they have this wonder. They can go to the same park again and again and again and see something completely different. Adults will go, we've been there far too many times. Why are we going to the same park? Why, like, we're so dissatisfied with the world around us. And so play, I recognize now that play allows us to tap back in to what we had as children, less disillusioned,
less disillusioned. That's it. But how do we as adults even begin to get there, when we're in our 40s or 50s, and play was such a long time ago?
Well, I suppose that's why there are people like myself who are evangelizing the benefits of play, who have created a program with the Primal Play Method. It's a system of teaching people how they can become more playful. So movement is just one way of getting there, which is very easy because we all have that muscle memory. We have that memory of playing childhood games. We have that memory of playing, and where the whole day, there's some summer days where, you might have been outside playing for 10 hours and it felt like half an hour. You couldn't believe how quickly the whole day went, just like that. But yet, at the same time, the summers felt as if they were going on forever. There was, do you know what I mean? So that's another benefit of kind of being in that flow state where time compresses and expands, and you just know, you have no idea, you have no awareness of that. So those moments where, as I say, you have that time compression, like an hour goes by in seconds because you're having so much fun, and where you just do not want this moment to end. Like you're just playing with your friends, and it's like it's a beautiful day. So there are ways to remind people of this. And I think a lot of people just being aware that it was possible before, and by playing some of these games in an adult setting, you recreate that feeling, you have that nostalgia, and you go, you know what, I want more of this. Yeah. So that's what it is. It's like you experience it again. You feel safe in an adult environment. You don't feel like a big kid. You just realize that you are a big kid.
Yeah, I love that. So since I met you a few weeks back in London, I was really inspired by your work when I came across it. And I showed a lot of your little videos to my youngest child, she just turned 12. And it was so nice for me to start kind of playing around with them with her. And actually, I was very fortunate that when I was in Miami recently for the functional medicine conference, I had 2 of my kids with me and my husband. And we were in the sea one day just before the conference started, just messing around. And my daughter Ariella said, "Mummy, why don't we do Primal Play?" And it was so cool. And I was like, "Oh, what a great idea!" And we did like walking on our hands and things like that. And it was actually even better in the water. It was really good fun, and we were just laughing and splashing. And I thought I must remember to tell you, because it was such a special thing that she thought of it. And I've been much more mindful of when she comes back to school and she's I said to her, the last thing you want to do is start doing your homework. You want to just give yourself a break, get outside. And she will now say to me, and really this is thanks to you, Darryl, so I'm very indebted to you, and she'll say, "Mummy, do you want to come outside and play with the ball?" And it's just like literally, and I don't think we would have done that had I not kind of discovered your work. And we're just throwing the ball, and then she says, "Well, what about if we kind of clap and then throw the ball, or we say words," and you kind of create your own games.
Yes.
And I guess that's what we always did, isn't it? It's like you evolve your own games.
Exactly. It keeps it interesting, and I think that's fantastic, because that's what I probably miss the most, or one of the things I miss the most about childhood is at times where there was much more interaction with the adults in relation to play. So there were times where it was just about the kids, but there were times where there was interaction, sometimes with my uncles, and we were play fighting and wrestling, and it's when you remember what that was like, and the longing that the children had for that, it's not about attention. It's about, they want that interaction. They want to create those memories, that bond. It's one of the ways that children bond with their parents, are playing these games. And for children to feel as if you're taking that seriously, because again, play for kids isn't just about fun. There's a seriousness, you can see some intensity when when their brains are ticking, and they're kind of figuring things out, and they're risk assessing. Is this something I could do safely? Do I need some help from somebody else? They're working significantly, processing a lot of brain cycles whilst they're playing, using visualization and imagination. And so for adults, we kind of dismiss it as, there's no benefit to that. It's almost like a waste of time. It's superfluous. But actually, there's a significant amount of the physiology, your biology that works really well, that develops social intelligence, that develops emotional intelligence, that develops your ability to interact with other human beings, to learn more about the world around you. And so that part of that is also the interaction with their parents. So her saying to you and realizing that you're going to be more likely to say, okay, let's do that. Because before you may have gone, oh, you know what, I've probably got to prepare for the conference, or
Yes.
that I should be doing. You go away and you can play, and I'll watch you and see how you're getting on.
That's the thing. That's the trap that I think most of us have fallen into as parents, is kind of like, okay, come on kids, I'll take to the park. And then you just sit on the bench on your phone while your kids go up and down the thing, and then you take them home again. And that's the thing, you deliver them to a place where they play, but we wouldn't particularly even think about actually getting in there with them, you know, unless they were toddlers and it wasn't safe. But once we get past that stage, we just kind of I guess delegate it, and we're sitting on the sidelines and just, you know, casting an eye over them every now and again in between looking at our bloody phones.
And you know, it's so, I mean, I notice this now because my kids have grown up now, but I spend a lot of time in the park. So when I'm running group sessions, and I see, there's a couple of things that I see. So I will see parents with their kids, and we'll be, you know, usually adults playing these games, and we're crawling on the ground and we're climbing trees, and the kids will just stop and stare at us at what we're doing. You know, they're distracted by us moving. And sometimes if they're old enough to talk, they'll say to their parents, like, you know, Mom, Dad, you know, can we do that? Can you do that? You know, and the parents will often say, no, don't do anything. I don't know why they're doing that. They're adults. They shouldn't be climbing trees. They shouldn't be crawling in the ground, you know. But and some parents, I would love to do something like that, but I'm just not able to anymore, right? So that's one of the things I noticed. The kids are fascinated by movement. They're attracted to movement in interesting ways. They don't stop and stare at people jogging. They don't.
And it doesn't look that interesting.
Yeah,
you know?
It doesn't look that interesting, right?
No.
But they'll stop and look at somebody who's climbing a tree or balancing on a rail. They'll want to copy and mimic it if they can, if their parents allow them to. And the second thing I observed is seeing, as you said, lots of parents who are watching their kids play. They're on their smartphones. They're dismissive when their kids are saying to them, you know, Mom, Dad, watch me do blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've seen you now. I've seen you do that 100 times. You know, and there's very little interaction. And so I'm now the favorite uncle now, because when I see my nephews and nieces, I'm always like, I'm the first person who's like, you know what? I'm going to go on that bouncing castle with you guys. You know, what game are you playing? I want to teach me the rules. I want to play with you. Are you sure, uncle? Yeah, I want to play. And they have so much fun with me. I'm not, you know, I feel alive in those moments. And I know I'm creating memories for my nephews and nieces that they'll last forever. You know, and even if they think I'm a little bit crazy, a little bit wacky, then I'll just be the wacky uncle who will be like Peter Pan and hopefully be an everlasting kid, right? But it's wonderful to throw off those shackles, which after all are all cultural and conventional, right? Convention tells us there's certain things you should not do when you reach a certain age. But I tell you what, I saw a video yesterday of a lady who's 105 years old. I posted it on social media. She's 105. And she's always been physically active. And she's being reassessed for her driving test because she's been driving for like 70 odd years, and she has to be reassessed, and she passes. And she's like doing yoga, and she looks, I don't know, 30 years younger. It's incredible what she's doing. And she just said, like, I just feel great. You know, life is great. I feel better. I'm going to feel better tomorrow than I do today. Imagine 105 years old. Somebody asked her, how do you feel? And she's like, I just look forward to tomorrow. You know, I feel great every single day, and touch wood, that's how it's going to continue. So but you could see behind the conversation, she just had that joy, that was kind of inner joy, that she felt great about being alive. That movement wasn't about getting into shape, but about her being functional for as long as she can and being independent for as long as she can. And she's like, if I can drive, then that's all that matters, right? If they tell me that I can drive and I can pass a test, doesn't matter if I'm 105 or 25. I want to be able to do this and prove to everyone that I can. And then I think the following year, she did a skydive, like 106 years old. I mean, incredible. But you can see, I have no doubt in my mind that she continues to play, that she has a playful spirit. There is no way she's divorced from that. And I don't think anyone reaching a certain age who's healthy is devoid of that. You know, yeah. So I think it's something that if you can maintain that trait, people will always look younger, doesn't matter about their physical appearance, doesn't matter about their aesthetic. If somebody's playful, you will take years off them, you know, because there's something about them which is full of life and vigor and vitality that you may not be able to put your finger on it, but you're like, that person has so much energy and so much life. And so I think it's a great prescription for most individuals.
Completely. And yet it's not really prescribed by anyone apart from a few rare people like yourself. And it kind of makes me feel really sad, on the one hand, talking to you, because when I think about how play has been devalued and shunted away to just these little pockets for little children in a park, and how no one really places any priority on it as adults, and how it has cost us so dearly in terms of our happiness and creativity and our fitness and joy and longevity through something that's just so simple that I guess is so simple that it's just overlooked.
Yes. And I suppose, I mean, I'm happy that I've regained my love for play as an adult, because I was one of those miserable, somber adults who you know, frowned on people laughing in the office. So I remember once laughing.
Really?
I remember once at the, you know, laughing in the office where I used to work in banking, and like, you know, it was frowned upon. You know, we were called in to see the director, you know, Darryl and whoever it was, you know, there was reported at 8:18 by the, you know, by the water cooler that you were laughing. Yeah, you know, there was a funny, we were laughing, you know, like for about 5 seconds. No, you're not here to laugh. You're not here to have a good time. You're here to work. And, you know, that was one of the kind of death knells that I was like, you know,
I'm out of here.
You know, but what upsets me more than anything else is the fact that even for children nowadays, we're in an environment now where adults are so concerned about health and safety, where you know, helicopter parenting. You know, we've got to see our kids in all situations. We don't want our kids to be free range kids, as many of us were as youngsters. They aren't allowed to spend as much time, say, playing at school. So playtime is being cut significantly. Yeah. They can't play the games that we used to play as kids. They can't skip because they may fall over and graze their knees. They can't climb on any climbing frames that they used to have at school. I mean, pretty much playtime has become stay indoors and work on your grades, do some more study, use that free time to become a better student. And that really saddens me, because there were so many kids who are suffering, who are now becoming depressed and more anxious, who can't deal with reality in some respects because they haven't gone through the developmental process that's required, and that comes through play of being able to work with their peers, of being able to kind of navigate you know, childhood. You know, that's just being removed because of creating this framework, which means let's remove play even more than has already been the case. And in terms of some stats, here's one interesting one. Within a generation, within 25 years, there are more kids being admitted to hospital falling out of bed than falling out of a tree. And that's both in the UK and in the US. So that's official admission figures. right? It's not just being alarmist for the sake of it.
Yeah.
But there are more kids now falling out of bed. I mean, kids can't even fall out of bed without twisting an ankle, because they just, they just don't even fall over when they're playing anymore, right? It's like we can't even allow that to happen. They can't have any rough and tumble play.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about bunk beds. We're talking
Just
about
a
your
normal bed.
normal bed. And so, of course, we know that one of the reasons why there are less people being admitted to the hospital falling out of the trees, because kids aren't doing it like they used to. But we're letting our kids down by not getting them to play. We know that they perform better academically if they have more playtime. So I think in Norway, schools are actually increasing recess time because they've recognized that there are more benefits. There's better concentration, better behavior of kids, better academic performance when they have more playtime rather than less. They break up classes, they'll have like 15, 20 minutes of work, then they'll play for a bit, back to work, play for a bit. So there's recognition of this elsewhere. In the UK, we're talking about extending school hours even more, doing more work, because academic standards are falling compared to the rest of the world. We need to really radically rethink what we're doing and the environment we're creating for our kids. It's
absolutely. And I think what you've said just reiterates the fact that we're living in such a deeply unnatural environment that is so at odds with how we're supposed to live and be. And it's really hurting us in so many ways, probably ways that we don't even know. We don't really know what the effect is going to be on these little kids now who are missing their break times, and it's really frightening. So give us some tips, Darryl. Give us, if for parents watching like me who are kind of thinking, don't remember the last time I played with my kids, so don't remember the last time I played myself. Where do we start?
So I would say, if you've firstly, get outside.
Yeah.
All right. Don't try and do this indoors. You already spend enough times indoors as it is, right? So get outside, regardless of the season. Even if it's winter, just rug up, play outside. I didn't just play as a kid in the summer, right? The middle of winter, we'd go out and play just as much as we did in the summer, right? So get outside first. It could be your back garden, could be a local park. Think about what you did as children. Teach your kids some of those games, because some of those games they may not be doing now. They may not be playing now. They may not have been passed on. They may not be allowed to play those games anymore. So by you teaching your kids these games, you'll begin to remember how much fun they were. And then you'll probably decide that you don't just want to tell your kids how to play this game. You're going to want to play it as well, right? Because it is so much fun. And then especially if there's other adults there, that would also encourage you to do it. If you're the only adult, you might feel as if, again, it's just about teaching the kids. But if there's other adults there who are willing to play these games too, that's a great recipe, right?
Yeah.
And then
just to interrupt you for one sec, Darryl, sorry to interrupt, but it just occurred to me that we were at my sister's recently for a family barbecue, and I pulled out, I found a baseball bat in the attic. Actually, had been put there years ago when my son, who's now 20, got it, I don't know, about 8 years ago for his birthday, and we took it round with a ball. And even my mum, who's 84, we got her to hit the ball in rounders. So it is amazing how once you kind of show up and say, hey, does anyone want to play rounders?
Yes.
That people's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so, exactly. And I'm sure, I know nothing about your mother, but I'm sure there are bits of her that you might have been surprised that she could move so well. Again, once the body starts to kind of loosen up and he's not thinking about exercise but just moving, there are probably things that she would have done with that baseball bat that she would never have done in her day-to-day life. Like, oh no, Mom, don't do that. Don't even think about doing that. Stay there. I'll get you a cup of tea, Mom. So they become more aware of what they can do. And she may have had some muscle soreness the following day because of it, but it felt great while she was doing it. And there were benefits working her body in that way. So yeah, I think, definitely trying to encourage other family members and friends to take part. And probably the third is to ensure that there's two-way communication from terms of teaching and receiving instructions. So once you feel as, okay, I've taught you how to play this game, kids, this is what we used to play, give us your ideas. And they'll be more than happy to volunteer, right? How they can improve the game, how they can make it their own, how they can make it even better, even more playful, even more interesting. And so that's where you're creating that dialogue. And if you're really, really stuck, you know what, I just can't even remember what I played as a kid, then go along to my website, primalplay.com, and there's a few suggestions of actual games that you can play, but also how you can create this playful mindset. Because for me, this started out as just about playing some games and becoming more physically active. But now I realize it's kind of permeated throughout my entire life. So it's my approach now to my relationships, conversations I have, to how I feel about dealing with life day to day. So I now have, I used to be so serious. People always used to say to me, like, you never crack a smile. Like, you just, you look like a bouncer permanently. That's what I would look like.
Really? I can't believe that.
Well, yeah, I did. Any photos of me, I would never smile. I mean, I was just misery. And now I know I'm not like that. Now I know people take photos of me now, and I'm like, where's that smile come from? I didn't realize I had a smile, and it doesn't have to be anything to be. There's nothing obviously funny, right? It doesn't have to be a comedian that I'm watching in order to find things to get some hilarity in your life. So yeah, I would just say we all have muscle memory, a play memory. We all have a play history, which is actually the term used by psychologists, that we all have a play history that we can recall, that we can rely on, that we can create memories now based on that. And so tag is one game that I think it's definitely universal. So
Yes.
all humans around the world will play a version of tag, will have some form of chasing game and being chased. And playing tag is probably the best way of reliving your youth, in my opinion.
It's true, and you can't help but laugh, can you?
Yeah, exactly.
It just comes out when you're like trying to run and you're like going to pull your bum in so you don't get tagged.
Yes, you don't get tagged. Yeah, you don't get tagged, and you kind of tease each other, like, tag me here, and there's so much. There is so much that happens in a few seconds of playing tag. And, of course, like now I'm playing, even with older adults. I mean, I've been playing tag with people in their 90s, like early 90s, and we're playing tag. And of course, it's a lot slower, but they're smiling instantly. And I'm talking people who probably haven't smiled for like 20 years. I shouldn't have said that. But, people who probably are not demonstrating that they're quite happy with their lot. And within seconds of playing these games like tag, they're just, they're out of their chairs, and they're, like, it's incredible.
And completely in the moment, of course, because you can't be thinking about work issues while you're running away. It's impossible.
It's impossible to do so, right? Exactly. You're not thinking about your shopping list or work issues or anything else. And of course, there are times where you do have to think about those things. We do have responsibilities. But at the same time, we're constantly looking for distraction. We don't talk about the fact that we watch, TV shows or read books, or there are all these pastimes that we gravitate towards in order to escape, having escapism. But we frown upon something that we could get that immediately. How many times have you read a book and within the first sentence you go, "Oh my goodness, like this is just so amazing, incredible"? Doesn't happen. You've got to spend some time before you become engrossed, or you're convinced because it's a great author and you go, "You know what, I've got to read this book because everyone's told me how great it is." But if you're playing and you love that game, a second in, boom, I'm sold. I'm having a great time, and I can play for as long as I can, and then I'll move on to whatever comes next. But it happens instantly. And there are not many things that we can get instant gratification from. That's healthy.
That's healthy, yes. Yes. We need to start prioritizing and not thinking, oh, that's a complete waste of time. You know, we've got to crack on with our work and with cooking dinner and all the other things. We need to actually recognize that that is a valuable, in fact, invaluable way to spend, even if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that the benefits that we get are so huge and so far reaching in terms of not just our physical well-being, but mental and creative and our relationship building and everything.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Even looking at relationships, you know, when you think about the honeymoon period of relationships, say, there is one thing you would observe is how playful people are, right? You know, young lovers, you know, like, oh, you know, so tactile and touching and like smiling, and, you know, they're playing. That's their interaction. And we say, oh, that was just a honeymoon phase and, you know, we're over that now. But you can still recreate those moments of just playing. It's not, you know, it's not about being serious about that or trying to artificially create that, but it's recognizing how much fun you have enjoying each other's company. And we don't give ourselves even time to think about that. Even things like cooking. You know, when I think about, I teach, you know, my children to cook certain foods. It was so, I mean, it was so serious. You've got to cut in this way. You've got, you know, and I wish now I could go back and inject a bit more fun into it. Do you know what I mean? Because when my mother cooks, and she's a fantastic cook, but she has so much fun, even though it's really serious, even though she wants to cook the most amazing meals. But you can see that she comes alive when she's cooking. You know, there's something about it which is, again, is playful. So once we realize that play isn't just about games, it isn't just about fun that comes externally, right? It's actually what you're generating and creating yourself. And so that can touch on anything. Our session here is quite playful. You know, our work can become playful. Our interaction with our colleagues, that some of them may not even like, can become more playful. So play, I believe, is really powerful, and I'm sure in the next few years there'll be people talking about the importance of play, not just as a supplement, as something that you bolt on. You know, oh, it's one of those things that's important with all the other kind of tenets of health, good health. Play is also something you should bolt on. In my opinion, play is fundamental.
Great. I'm completely with you, and I feel so privileged to have come across you. And you know, I know we had a quick chat in London recently, and it really has stayed with me, and I hope it will inspire a lot of people who are watching this as well. So where can people go to find out more? Just give us your website again. Is there a download? You've got a book out as well. Just tell us a bit more about it.
So if after this session you're still not convinced that play is worthwhile, I do have a free download, a free ebook called The Importance of Play, available from my website. It's primalplay.com. And all I would ask of you is for your email address. I won't send you any spam, but you do get a nice ebook which will just talk about some of the research, some of the evidence as to why play is beneficial for not only for our mental health but also our physical health as well. I also have a lot of other research on the website in relation to movement in general. So I have a page called Movement is Medicine, and I have a lot of published research on the benefits of movement as therapy, as treatment, as prevention of many chronic lifestyle diseases. So there are many diseases that you'd have no idea that movement could be used as a way to treat and to manage certain conditions. So I have all that research there. And I also have some videos and hints and tips as how you can become more playful, some games, some ideas for you to become more playful. And I have a few published books. My latest one is called Animal Moves. And the concept behind that is that if we move more like the rest of the animal kingdom, we'll become more human. The reason I say that is because humans are not very good at being specialists of movement. So for example, a cheetah we know can outsprint Usain Bolt easily, 4 times as fast as Usain Bolt. But even camels can outsprint Usain Bolt. Wild sheep can outsprint him. Ants can lift up to 100 times their body weight. we struggle with 1 or 2 times our body weight. Fleas can jump significant distances. Kangaroos, dolphins can swim far better than we can. We are pretty rubbish when it comes to movement as specialists. But we're adept at moving well as generalists. So we're a kind of jack of all trades when it comes to movement. We can crawl, we can jump, we can climb, we can sprint, we can lift and carry, we can walk great distances. So if we model animals as we would have done as kids, we tend to be all sorts of different animals. If we do that as adults, we'll become more flexible, more mobile, we'll work in different intensities, we'll get stronger, we'll get fitter, we'll get faster in doing so. So I've just created a structured program with some games and making sure there's an emphasis on fun within my book, Animal. And you can get that in all good bookstores and even all the bad ones. Animalmovesbook.com will give you more information on that book.
Yeah, and just to tell everyone watching, I've done Animal Moves that you've recommended with my daughter, and it's just really good fun. So if we're doing like the kangaroo, I'll like jump and say kanga, and then she does it and says roo, and we're just laughing because you can't really help. You couldn't do that po-faced.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you couldn't really, because and you know, there is something about, I mean, I don't know, I have no idea why children aren't taught to mimic other animals. You know, maybe the sounds of an animal, but, you know, usually they'll start crawling, they'll pretend to be a horse, and, you know, or they'll want to piggyback carry, or they'll want to perform these movements. They're instinctive. And as you say, you do them as an adult, you do them with your children, it all comes flooding back, and there's a smile on your face. And even if some of that smile is like, you know, hopefully no one's watching, you know, this, you know, or I'm glad my daughter's here, because then it looks as if I have permission to do it. You know, whatever, doesn't matter what the justification is for you feeling the way that you do, as long as you do it and feel great in doing so, and recognize that there's benefits in doing it, and maybe it's something that I should maintain going forward. And your daughter, you know, is more likely to want to remain active as she gets older and has less hang-ups about it. And we know what happens with girls, preteen girls. They're just as active as boys. They hit early teens, and the amount of physical activity that they're partaking drops significantly.
Yeah.
You know, because they get more concerned about kind of social pressures and peer pressures, and you know, so there's a lot more we could be doing to encourage our boys and our girls especially to be moving more as they enter their teens. Yeah.
Darryl, I just want to say a huge thank you, because I've found this so inspirational, and your ebook and book and everything, and I'm really grateful for what you're putting out, and I really hope that more and more people get to know about it, and just give it a try. Just have an open mind and give it a try.
Yeah, just give it a try. So no, it's I mean, thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. It's been gorgeous to talk to you. Take care.
Thanks very much. Take care.
Bye. Bye, Darryl.